Just the beautiful sound of those bells brings me to a state of calm and rest and relaxation. Today I'd like to offer you a few ideas for a restorative practice that you can do at home in the comfort of your living room or in your bedroom. And you'll see that I have a variety of props here. I've got some blocks, I've got some blankets, I've got my bolster. But be creative with this. You might not have that at home. That doesn't mean that you can't do this. So grab a bunch of blankets and some pillows and sort of explore all these different poses. I'm going to give you a few of them. And as long as you're comfortable in them, stay with each pose anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes. While you're there, maybe to start with, pick some really soft, soothing, relaxing music that you really enjoy, any style of music at all. And really focus on the present moment awareness of every single breath. So let's just practice a few breaths together to give you an idea of some of the practices you could try in your home restorative yoga practice. So if we think of just practicing our nasal breath, inhaling through the nose, filling up the belly, exhaling through the mouth, letting everything completely empty. And just think of slowing that down. So inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a really easy breath to remember. You could always try and lengthen it a little bit to a count of 6 or 7. The longer the exhale, the deeper the exhale, the more you'll drop down into relaxation mode. And when we come to relaxation mode, it helps our body readjust and reset to sort of combat all the negative effects of stress. When we're under a lot of stress, there's a lot of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline that start to flow through our bodies, putting us into this excited, anxious state, this fight or flight mode. And we start to notice that our breath moves up into the upper portion of our rib cage and even into our collarbones. So the first thing you want to do is really encourage that beautiful, deep, long belly breath. And always try to completely empty all your breath before you take the next one. The idea with restorative yoga is to be able to release into the poses and be very comfortable and soft and relaxed. So if after even just 30 seconds or a minute or so, there's any type of pain, you need to either bolster up and give yourself more support with each of the poses or come out of them. So this isn't an endurance thing. It's not a marathon of how long can I hold the pose. It's not a performance thing of how deep can I go into the pose. The idea is to let go and to just come into relaxation mode so that your body can start to heal and recover. All right? So one of the basic poses you can come to is called basic relaxation pose. I'm going to use my bolster, but you could roll up a towel or a blanket or even use some cushions. And the bolster will be underneath my legs. And then I'm going to use a folded blanket underneath my head. Let my arms come down to the sides. And if you have an eye pillow or an eye cover from traveling, or even just a small towel, bring that towel or that eye cover right over your eyes, like this. And then sometimes we need to wiggle around enough to find that spot where we can commit to stillness, and then make yourself a true commitment to stillness. And just slow down the breath. Deep, long exhales. This would be a typical pose that you could come to for anywhere from 5 to 15 or even 20 minutes. And if it was the only pose you ever did in restorative yoga, it would still be of tremendous and great benefit to you and your health. So that's one idea. One of my students' favorite poses is called Supta Baddha Konasana. So Baddha Konasana is when we butterfly the legs like this. Supta Baddha Konasana is a reclining pose. So to set it up, what I'm going to do is take 2 blocks. I always like to let you know that the blocks are like 3 blocks in one. So here's the baby block, here's the mama block, and there's the papa block. We're going to set up the papa and the mama for the purposes of this demonstration. And they're going to be a little bit apart from each other. If you wanted to go a little bit lower, you would set up the mama and the baby. So there's like a step in between them. I don't want you to do this because then when the bolster goes on top of that, it's going to sag. All right, so you want to have firm support. So again, we're going to go with the papa and the mama. We'll set up the bolster on there. Let me just make sure that that's secure. There we go. And it actually helps if you have this against a wall. Just want to make sure that doesn't fall down. There we go. Good. Now I'm going to snuggle up. Well, let me just get a couple of blankets ready in case I need them, and a couple of pillows. When I give these classes, it looks like a huge pajama party going on in my studio. I love it. Okay, so from here, what you're going to do is come and sit so that you connect your back with the bolster, and maybe you can just slide your fingers through. Okay, bring the knees in like this and start to lower down onto the bolster, and then simply allow the legs to butterfly open. Now I am pretty flexible in Baddha Konasana, so I don't need a very high support, but it's really important that you are fully supported in the legs. So you might need to put more than 2 cushions. And one thing you'll notice is that when I was here, my forearms are kind of hanging. So I'm going to take 2 blankets, place them underneath, and now I'm fully supported. I can come to stillness, focus completely and entirely on every single breath. Where'd that eye pillow go to? Try that again. Here we go. Now, if that causes pain in your back, you shouldn't be doing it. All right, so I can't feel what's going on in your body, only you can. You want to be really well supported here, so there's no gaps anywhere. So for myself, I actually don't like this height. I would actually go much lower. So I'll just show you that very briefly, lowering the blocks, and you'll see quite a difference now. Before, my lower back was kind of still hanging. Now, I can really nestle into the bolster, and even my arms are lower. I don't even need the blanket underneath as much anymore. Another thing you could add, some of you might need to add a little bit of height for the head and neck, okay? So again, anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, practicing those slow, deep breaths, focusing on deep, long exhalations. Using exactly the same setup, you're going to straddle the bolster now, bending the legs, and then come forward. Let your head turn to one side.
coming to a restorative balasana or child pose. Oh, so relaxing, so soothing, calming. So you'll maybe need to set timers for yourself before you start. So eventually you want to turn your head to the other side as well.
All right, a couple of options here. You might have issues with the ankles, the shins, the knees, so we could always take a blanket underneath like this and support the legs. And then the other thing you can do is either take pillows or blankets. You can roll up a blanket or a towel. I find the Costco towels that you buy, those beach towels. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know. Anyways, beach towels are great. So here I'm giving a bit of support to the space between my calf and my thigh.
There we go. Good. All right.
And if you needed a little bit more height to make sure
The forearms are relaxing.
that would be your restorative child pose. Good, how are we doing? Let's try a couple more. The next setup that we'll try, here we go, here's that pajama party look again, isn't it awesome? Is take your bolster, and again, that can be a couple of blankets rolled up one over the other, like jelly rolls. So take your jelly roll or your bolster and sit sideways so that it becomes an extension of your hip, and then turn your upper body towards it. Start to walk down and rest. Now, personally, I'm not all that mobile in this area right here at the bottom of my neck and at the top of my upper back, but a lot of people will come to this pose with the head on the opposite side. I prefer to stay here. So you try, make sure that you come to an area of comfort. You could pad between the legs with a blanket, like that. Okay, and obviously you would do both sides. All right. Let's grab our blocks. If you don't have blocks, then sometimes thick books would work. You'd want to maybe wrap them in a towel and either put an elastic or some tape around the towel so that it all stays together in a package. But I think a lot of you probably have your own yoga blocks at home. All right, so from here, we're going to come to a side lying pose. Take your blanket or your towel and make a really, really tight sushi roll, like that. That's going to come into the small of your waist. I'm going to lie down over it. Some of you might need to use a block to support your neck and head because you want to have a connection between the side of your head and a stable surface, so you don't want it floating here. Or I like to just use my arm and then reach. And when I'm doing this, I really try to focus my attention on how the breath is traveling all through the upper side. And obviously you would do both sides, all right? That one I don't usually stay in too long, maybe 5 minutes each side. And another one that's great is bringing your legs up onto the wall. So everyone knows that one. To get there easily, you can set up some blankets underneath you to soften everything. Maybe just for my head, let's say, and nestle in close to the wall. Let's get this out of the way. There you go. Legs up the wall is a wonderful pose. I actually always recommend it to travelers. Not many of us are doing a lot of traveling right now. But if you do travel, or if you tend to stand on your feet a lot, so if you're a healthcare worker or you work in a grocery store, or anything, any type of activity that keeps you standing for a long time, this kind of reverses the blood flow. It's really good for people with varicose veins as well. It's also a little mild inversion. So when we come upside down, it is believed in yoga practice that sometimes it helps us garner new perspectives on things. So try legs up on the wall, see how that feels. And then you would finish again with a very basic Shavasana, either with or without the bolster. You will cool off during these practices. So typically, you can imagine 10 or 15 students in a studio practicing restorative yoga. Everybody would be cocooned, eye pillow on, soft, deep breaths, long exhale. Let yourself release and drop down into the support underneath you. And make sure that in between poses that you take your time. There's no rush with any of this. So always come out gently by moving the extremities, the head, the neck, bending the knees, just moving around gently, and move around really, really slowly and softly. So I hope that helps you practice a little bit of restorative yoga at home, coming to a little bit of time of doing absolutely nothing but just being still, being with our own breath, being with our own spirit is wonderfully healing. Thank you for being here. Namaste. Stay well.